evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists, distinguished guests. It's my honor to welcome you all for this engaging discussion on reimagining business evolution, enterprise solution using cloud innovation. Right. The structure I would like to do is I'll introduce myself and the panel and set the stage for the discussion. And then we'll dive into the discussion, and later, if we have some time, we'll go for the Q&A section. If you guys are okay, I'll just quickly go ahead in that direction, yeah? Thank you all. My name is Radesh. I work with Essentra Health, and at Essentra Health, we firmly believe and devote in using the latest cutting-edge technologies in the space of healthcare. EvoBricks X is our flagship product, which aim is very simple but very profound to improve the healthcare for the community as well as the individuals. Right? And I'm thrilled to be here to be part of this discussion with this esteemed panels what I have here. And I come with 23 years of experience in the technology industry, and I spearheaded multiple initiatives with complexities. And aim is to leverage the cloud technologies to improve our business solutions and give a better customer experience, right? And I'm passionate for the transformative power this cloud solutions gives us, right? And the ROI which we can harness from these cloud innovations, right? So that is where we would set the stage here to discuss on that, right? And I'm sure that we will have a very engaging discussion, and there will be a lot of insights and ideas which will sparkle, and our collective knowledge will maybe trigger better ideas where we can leverage upon, right? So without ado, I will introduce the panel. I have Navneet Kumar, CTO from Card91, joining us in the esteemed panel. Navneet brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the table with over 23 years of remarkable experience in the card infrastructure, tailored to the business and banks. Through his visionary guidance, Navneet and his team have pioneered the cutting edge in the realm of customer experience, right? And next we have is Krishnendu Majumdar, Chief Product Officer, UB. He comes with 20 years of experience. His spontaneous ability to think creative and devise simple yet effective solutions and the complex challenges is one of his trademarks. Please join to welcome him. Next we have is Krishnamurthy Rajesh, Director, Grey Orange. He's a leading technology company which unifies AI-driven software and mobile robotics to optimize warehouse operations in real time, right? He comes over with 20 years of experience in information technology, seamless business applications across diverse industries. He has a prestigious recipient of the CIO 100 and World CIO 2000 Award 2023. And he comes with wealth of experience in cybersecurity, data center achievements, AI, IoT, and the list goes on. Welcome, sir. Next we have is Ram Gopal Prajapati, Director, Data Scientist, Tata Click. He is an AI ML leader who translates cutting-edge technologies into the real-world solutions and the business outcomes. 2 decades of experience across AI, consulting, and even entrepreneurships have shaped Ram's achievements. Right? He harnesses the AI ML to transform the customer experience, and his consulting work with global giants like Infosys, Accenture, IBM proves that he's aptly leading the cutting-edge technologies there. So the next we have is Sundar Kumar, AVP, Customer Experience, Carrot Lane. Sundar is a seasoned engineering leader with a proven track record of building high-scale, high-volume products resonating to millions of customers. He spearheads the development and multiple products spanning the customers and the enterprise domain, contributing to billions of dollars of revenue. Please join me to welcome the panelists. Right. So getting into the discussion, right? So first I would like to pick brains with Navneet. We all know, right? So most of the companies from small to big are jumping the bandwagon of adapting the cloud, right? But just not subscribing to cloud alone will not, where the ROI can be realized. There are certain nuances where we can do beyond that, right? So what do you think, in your experience as a leader, you have done so that we can leverage or extract more ROI of investment on the cloud?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question, and thanks Radesh for the fantastic introduction for all of us. Thank you very much. So how we see it at Card91, and we have been at the helm of adopting cloud since the very beginning. So we are a payment infrastructure company for the issuance side of things, and we work very closely with banks. In that case, what happens is whenever we interact with banks, banks always want that, look, you have to have very cost-effective solutions for them, otherwise they won't sign up with you. So in that, what happens is if we want to come up with a cloud architecture, we also have to have very lean and cost-effective architecture, otherwise, I mean, it just defeats the purpose completely and we won't be in the market. So in that case, there were a few things that we kind of looked into and evolved over time in the last 4 odd years. First one was primarily deciding which cloud to go with. It's not that it's never one size fits all. So if you decide about AWS and you think, okay, AWS is the only thing, that is not the thing. And similarly, if you want to go with Google Cloud, that is also not the thing. So you have to see which one you have to kind of select. The second thing is primarily with respect to a decision about your architecture as well. So if you have your application architecture, so if you have a monolith application and you say that, okay, I want to go with cloud because that's the new fad at the moment, if you put and take it up and put it in cloud, it is not going to work, and it would be super duper expensive for you to kind of use that. So you have to kind of realign that, look, I am going to cloud for certain reason, and we have to kind of do some changes in our application architecture that, look, this is ready for cloud. The third thing is with respect to even the cloud architecture. So if you decide that, look, this is a particular cloud that you want to go for, from an architecture of the cloud per se also, you have to have a lot of decisioning that you have to do. So decisioning like, do you really need a server to kind of do certain things? So there are, in AWS, you have Lambdas and those kind of things. If you have a sudden spike, I mean, do you really need that fixed EC2 instance to kind of be there forever, running for you and bill you, and you get billed for it? So that is one thing. And that's a very, very important thing. Even if you decide you have a server, then you have a lot of choices. The choices with respect to, do you want a spot instance? Do you want a reserved instance? Do you want to have a dedicated instance? So, and all the costs vary. So it has to be dependent on what business case you are kind of solving and how much money you have in your pocket as well. So that is one of the things. Apart from that, you also have to have a constant monitoring, which you have to do. I mean, you can't just say, okay, I have got the perfect architecture right now. My app is fantastic. Now let's keep on doing exactly the way I was operating maybe 6 months ago. No, you have to constantly monitor and see that, look, your costs are not going through, they're not going through the sky. So that's one of the things. And apart from that, your data archival policies. As the previous panelists were discussing, the data cost is also huge. It's not simple. So you have to ensure that, look, whatever data we need, where do we have to keep it? I mean, again, in AWS terminology, do you want to put it in Glacier? Do you want it primarily in the S3 bucket? So these are a couple of things which you have to keep in mind whenever you decide that, look, what cloud architecture you have to do, and that's a constant kind of thing that you have to think about.
Right. And Escape, from your experience, what would you like to add probably on the how do we embrace the serverless architecture or any other space? Can you share light on that?
Sure. I will just add a color to, everyone able to hear me? Because there the sound was a little low, right? So just adding to whatever Navneet was saying, right? So there are a couple of things, right? So one of the main reason for the cloud migration, it is, so most of us have already embraced it, right? So most of the industries. One of the reason is to move from capital expenditure to operational expenditure, right? So instead of investing at the start of the kind of journey, people try to apportion it over the number of years, right? So that is one of the major drivers actually, right? So as Navneet clearly said, many of the industries or companies cannot do a kind of lift and shift, right? So that may not be possible. So in that case, there has to be a kind of combination of which parts can go to the cloud, which parts cannot go to the cloud. For example, in the fintech industry, right, whichever interfaces with the bank processor, there may have to be leased lines actually, right? So with the cloud, it may be possible, but it may be costlier. Or I may have to invest a lot more at the start actually, and then I may see the ROI come in after kind of few months or few years of business actually, right? And in the change of business, there may be few things, for example, LLMs or AI that may come into play actually, which a particular business may require actually because of the change in the landscape, right? So those are the reasons for doing the cloud transition. But what I would recommend is multiple industries cannot do that shift and lift and shift actually. They may have to do it in a what do we call actually in a throttle way. So what kind of throttle is there, what choices are made, that basically defines the kind of long-term success story. That is something I just want to add.
Thank you there. So just to summarize what we have discussed is, it all depends on the organization fit. It all depends on the organization fitment. Based on your organization needs, you need to tailor what you need. And as Navneet pointed out, there are different instances, different plans which you need to choose and pick based on your needs and requirement. And also, it's a phased approach where the SK has pointed out wisely that you need to know what exactly you need, and there are different ways you can optimize that. Now, that leads to the next question, right? So, Ram, what I would like to get your thoughts on, right? So now, since we all know that the cloud needs to be adapted, right? Now, there are different sizes of companies available there, from small to medium to large. So now what do you think these strategies, it's not just like one fit for all, each one should have a different strategies to come up with that, right? So what would you suggest, right? From your experience, you have worked in multiple companies, from startups to large scale. So what do you think the strategy should be, and how the smaller should plan, how the medium and the large should plan the strategy?
Hello. So as you know, some of the panel's members indicated, I think, so in few aspects, all companies have a similar requirement. For example, you know, earlier panel they discussed about the AI and ML, right, or experimentation, right? So from experimentation, even the big companies, right, very difficult for them to, you know, set up infrastructure for AI, ML, etc. in-house, right? So some of those aspects, right, almost all companies, they need to move to, you know, cloud, experiment, you know, try out different pre-trained models, LLM model, etc. Right? That's where cloud enable them, you know, faster experimentations and try the experimentation, right? Whereas in some other aspect, they have to be very careful when they are migrating or they are adopting on the cloud, because some of the large organizations, their key concern is from the security perspective, how they want to plan the migration, right? It cannot be a one shot, right? It has to be, you know, properly planned, gradually, incrementally, they have to move it to ensure and move that way. Right?
And also, just to add there, right, and also there are security aspects which you need to consider, because the security requirements for the smaller organization is different from the security requirements for the bigger organization. That also might play a huge amount of budget, which will consume the budget as well. Right?
So typically, big organizations, I have seen that, you know, their key focus is, of course, in addition to security, you rightly mentioned, is about the efficiency, around the creating visibility around. Typically these organizations, when they are on-prem, they have multiple different technologies, tools, etc., line in different departments. So how they bring the visibility and cost efficiency is the key focus for them to when they are migrating and they are planning to, you know, shift on that. Right. Whereas for a smaller organization, it's all about agility, flexibility, and how sooner they can move and experiment. You know, some of those are the key key points there.
So, Krishnamurthy, I would like to get your thoughts on this one. You being an IT expert, so what else flavors you can bring in?
Okay, when you asked me, honestly, it's my personal opinion. I may be different from other panelists out here. So what I feel is whenever you talk about any technology adoption, it is based on three parts. One is scalability, agility, and expandability. So when you talk about from an angle of small scale or medium or large scale, everything boils down to one thing about your top line and the bottom line. So technology is just a driver on this top line and a bottom line, which actually enables a company to grow to a next stage. Adaptability of such technology, in my personal opinion, are much better and much high to a medium and small scale company in comparisons to the large scale. Because when you talk about a medium scale or small scale, they try to penetrate the market and they try to establish themselves. At that time, the major concern for them is the cost. How to have a better output in a lesser cost, along with how to capture the market share where there's a lot of competitions already available. So in that case, if they are using the AI ML technology along with some sort of automation, that will not only help them to reduce the wastage, but also to give a decisive making insight on a lower cost as such. And they can create a benchmark in which the whole thing can get into the next stage. But if you talk about a larger company or a big organization where there is a process which is well defined, they are already established in the market. So now they are looking for optimization of the processes, optimization of operation, optimization of the revenue. They are not bothered, and that's one of the reasons why in a lot of cases we have seen that organization go into a sunk cost. Because the problem is not to capture the market, the problem is to kill the market. And to do that, if they want to do something, now people will talk about ethics or non-ethics. But in business, it again depends upon person to person, organization to organization. I don't want to get into it. But the whole idea is if you already have established process, then changing the process is a tiresome. But whenever such thing happens, it has a long lasting impact. And again, I agree to what Rajesh said. From a security perspective, a large organization, whenever they are making some changes, they need to look from multiple angles. Because their ecosystem is vast, they have interconnected systems, they have a lot of touch points where they talk about data exchanges, they have different business models, they might be having a multiple subsets, so on and so forth. So the idea is to give, when they implement any such thing, they need to look from a multiple angle. But if any one module, if they are able to implement in a successful way, the results are much better. But if you talk about the same thing in a medium or a small scale industry, results is immediate. Like if you're talking about cutting down a cost, probably you can go ahead and implement a RPA. Because RPA requires to have a process automation also, like where you need to digitize things before you get into digitalization sort of scenario. And it's easy to change at the grassroots level rather than when the things are settled. And we have almost seen that there's always a friction where whenever you are trying to make any changes into an existing system. So that would be my view.
Sure. I just have a slightly complimentary view, right? Large enterprises, they may be little resistant to change. I definitely understand where you're coming from. But when we consider a small company or a medium company, cost is a challenge, right? So even though there is agility and flexibility, cost will play a role. For example, Navneet was talking about Lambda services and Fargate, right? So those are serverless, you need not put instances. But the problem is when there is not much of a scale, which most of the small companies would not have, then these technologies would not even make sense actually, right? So the problem is, again, it's a trade-off, right? So how much are you able to get out of the set process, at the same time, how much you are able to move away from the cost problem, right? So there is Alan Mulally, right, who turned around Ford. So one of the things he did is he gave away a lot of the unwanted arms from Ford, right? For example, he sold Land Rover, he sold Volvo. So similarly, any businesses, if it is much more important for small businesses to be cognizant of what is their core strength, then see what is that innovation and what is that slow adoption they can do there or fast adoption they can do there, and give the other pieces to the players who do it well actually. So that would be my view.
So now that leads to the next question, where the adaptation, we understand cloud is important, then we need to adapt that. Now the next big question what we have is the adaptation. What are the hurdles for the adaptations, right? The recent report from App Inventive suggests that around 66% of them strongly feel that security is one of the key hindrance in adaptation, right? So now, what measures and what countermeasures as the leaders we need to bring into our organizations so that the adaptation happens, right? Because that's the next thing, what's the major disruption is going to happen. So yeah, Navneet, if you can add in with your experience on that.
So security for us is paramount, and because we work very closely with banks, and that's one thing for which we get audited every now and then. So we know the pain of getting audits done and supporting what banks want. So how we kind of have structured it is in three scenarios. One is the application vulnerability, which we have to kind of monitor all the time. So when I say application, I mean you also always have to check what is the encryption between in payloads, how the exchange of information is happening between the APIs which you have got. Are you having an external API call that is happening? Is that encrypted or no? Even from a logs perspective, is your application putting out some logs which has sensitive information? Because we have seen instances where unknowingly some developers have printed some things, and those logs have got picked up by the operations guys, and they should not know that information, and they are they're easily seeing it. So those kind of scans and everything we have to do. So that is from an application perspective. The second thing is from an infra perspective, the cloud infra perspective. So when we talk about cloud infra, that has to be completely secure. When I say secure, I mean you have to have your WAFs enabled, you have to have DDoS protection, all kinds of encryption. You need to have your backups secure. Those kind of things are a must. Third thing is the process as well. So when I say process, you mean how, even from a simple thing like your API documentation, is it exposing your API credentials?
Yeah.
Because I have seen those instances also happening.
Correct.
So from my perspective, these three things, if we kind of handle in general, then most of the security kind of gets taken care of.
Right. So Krishnendu, can you add some flavor on how does the security, when you talk about security, data encryption and other aspects also play a very key important role? So
sure.
What are your thoughts on
Just thanks for the wonderful introductions. I'll come from the experience that as UB, we work with almost 80% of the banks and NBFCs in India, right? And what we have realized is that this whole security, when we are dealing, doesn't matter whether it is cloud and all that. Obviously, most of the new gen companies will build their solutions on top of the cloud. And what becomes very important is that the security cannot be an afterthought. So in fact, like one of the things that we have done is that for every developer, nobody pointed it out, right? Some developer pointed out. Nothing against the developer, it is just that they are not aware that so many security checks go on, right? When you are dealing with different financial institutions. So I think like as we get into it, it becomes very, very important that these core security concerns are put as part of the SDLC process itself, right? So for example, like when you talked about that, some things get printed and all that, if we have to really sort of come up with the challenge that of wider cloud adoption and all that, those type of code is like, the developer can't even write a code like that because it will get caught much earlier. So one of the things is that, and as Navneet also pointed out, it is a continuous process, right? It is never done, right? Because you have to continuously do those security checks, vulnerability analysis. So don't keep it as an afterthought, rather bring it as part of the entire process itself.
Right. Just to add on to that, right? I'll just move on to the next question, which kind of becomes very interesting. Now we said that, hey, we acknowledge that we need cloud, we need to understand the innovation, but since there's a lot of dynamic landscape, right? There's a lot of innovation happening, right? Gen AI coming in, that coming in, so many things, disruption happening. So as an organization, how do you prepare yourself, right? What are the measures do you take so that you're ready for this change?
Absolutely, brilliant question. So two things I will tell you, and one of the aspect, and I'm not talking about the future, I'm giving a report of what is happening now, right? Okay. So it's not a future-looking, what I should say, statement. I think like AI ML will become a co-pilot for everybody, no matter which field they are working, Whether it is a developer, whether it is a product manager, whether it is a designer, whether it is a business guy who is doing forecasting, whether it is a sales guy, or whether somebody is managing operations, right? The first thing which is happening is, imagine like everybody will have a co-pilot with respect to their job function and will be able to do that, right? And why I'm saying that, I'm reporting, I'm not forecasting, right? Because I'll tell you a little bit of backstory here so that you understand. Because AI ML has long moved away from a solution looking for a problem to something which is very real, right? So I'll give just a quick backdrop so that you understand that what type of challenges we face in India and how does AI ML apply to that, okay? So all of us have heard the narrative that India will become a, what I should say, 5 trillion economy, the third largest economy by 2027, right? And in any economy, MSME sector plays a huge role, right? Like they employ almost like 45 to 50% of the population. In India, just stay with the numbers so that it will be a little bit shocking for you, okay? We are 663 lakh MSMEs, okay? Out of the 663 lakh MSMEs, 660 lakhs are small enterprises, which means like they employ like 2 people, 3 people like that, 660 lakhs. Then 3 million are small enterprises, which like are the turnover of say $1 million to $10 million. And 50,000 are in the $10 million to $35 million turnover companies. So from 663 lakhs, 660 lakhs is gone, small. Then there is this, what I should say, 3 lakh small, and 50,000 medium enterprises. Now this entire sector does not have access to credit. Very few, right? Now imagine when the India is growing from a GDP-wise that thing, what is going to happen to this sector?
Very true.
Right? Which means that if you look at it, the whole credit underwriting process, right? And even the deciding whom to give loans versus not to give loans, right? So a practical example I will tell you, when we are working with some of the banks, they are saying that, can you enable me where I handle say 500 cases a month to 10,000 cases a month?
Yeah,
right.
That's an interesting example there.
Yeah.
I mean. So just extending that thought, Krishnamurthy, I would like you to pitch in, right? How does the AI itself revolutionize the cloud infrastructure? So what are the things you foresee coming in?
Okay, it's a really very interesting question. So when you talk about the AI, so the concept of AI is nothing new. It's pretty old. Only thing is what has happened is it has got into a second level of maturity where we talked about a lot of LLM scenario or a lot of self-learning scenario, and it's still not in a phase where we say that everything is hunky-dory from a self-conscious part. However, when you talk about from an AI part, the best thing what is going to happen specific to the cloud is, in today's world, cloud is also seen as a white elephant. If not managed properly, the cost of the OPEX would be much higher than the CAPEX. And a lot of companies, that's the reason why they are moving back from cloud to the on-premises. Yeah. So, and end of the day, what happens is, till we as a human, we are trying to manage certain things. So we always go with the perceptions, we always go with some ideas or some set of rules, which may or may not be right at any given point of time. But when you integrate it with the AI, and the AI is nothing but having a decisioning based on the data or a fact where you are getting the input from multiple angles. It could be the structured way, it could be unstructured way, it can be a multiple scenario. If you talk about from, gentlemen, I just talked about in terms of BFSI. One of the best adoption, if you talk from a cloud perspective, is the scalability. Like financial institute wanted to do a month-end run, right? Where they need to have more compute. And they cannot afford to keep on having CPU for the whole month and incur a cost. So you need to have some scalability or stretchability where the demand can be given on the fly, so that whenever the demand comes up, it needs to go up. And when the demand goes down, it should come down. Right, so that is one of the example. Second thing is also from a manufacturing angle, if you talk about, like, we talk about the predictions. Like we talk about a prediction in terms of manufacturing and reducing the waste. And again, those things can be clubbed with the AI, which can give you what if analysis, which can help you from the manufacturing aspect also, clubbed with the cloud and IoT will give you a right set from a business value.
Time check. Sorry to cut you short. I think this, I will just open a can of worms. I think Ram also wants to jump in.
So I think the key part is that in all the cases what you mentioned, right, there are use application of AI, right? What from across landscape,
Absolutely.
be it
Yeah.
security perspective, how to make even cloud more efficient. There are plenty of use cases where it can be leveraged, and which is what it will open up huge opportunities in terms of how and where AI can play a key role as a part of the journey. And some of the things what might not be feasible today, it can be made feasible. Even the example what you are giving in terms of, the people are asking to have a process larger volume. The larger volume can be enabled through the AI, where a lot of processes can be enabled through AI, and the key important where humans are required, that part will be handled by the human.
Absolutely, and in fact, like a couple of things while he takes up, like very, very interesting, like some of the most challenging things which come along is that India is a very multilingual country, right? So documents are in multiple languages, people speak in multiple languages, right? So now that all these LLMs are coming around with the language agnostic is a boon for India. Actually, India will gain much more than perhaps some of the mostly English-speaking countries in that manner, right?
So Krishnadu, there only kind of we as a company are facing problems, right? For example, there is an Indian slang for any of the jewelry, right? I am part of Carrot Lane, and the existing LLM is not able to crack it actually. So what I am saying is, adding to whatever Krishna sir told, right? So what the innovation is there. The world is not even, right? So whatever is innovated is already there somewhere. The problem is it has to kind of become democratized, right? So that is the major challenge. So so now setting up a AI company, right, as NVIDIA founder told, it takes $1 billion, and few of the companies can do. But can many of the companies use it without running the OPEX? So that is the challenge. So the cost should come down, and it should kind of reach the people of need, right? For example, for the Indian context, how we partake in that journey. So that is where the innovation and things have to happen, I guess so.
Sorry guys, I need to cut short the discussion. I think we are time up. It's already red flashing there. All right, it was very insightful. I think we need to end this conversation. And just to summarize everything, right? So cloud is there to stay. And it is not one fit for all. I think the companies should customize their solutions. There are a lot of options there where you can realize your ROI, and based on your requirement, you can tailor and deliver it the customer. And as the adoption goes, we need to make a cognizant attempt to make sure we secure our customers, because end of the day, we maintain customer data, right? That plays a very key important role. So wise investments, security, scalability, and the AI coming in, cloud will definitely help you innovate in that space. That saying that, thank you. I would like to thank the panelists for sharing their insights, and I'm sure their thoughts and ideas would definitely spark some thoughts and ideas. Thank you all. Thank you so much.